And right now, panicked Democrats are scrambling to pick up the pieces as Donald Trump doubles down on his agenda. The political rivals have a busy schedule ahead of Election Day, from Trump's sentencing that happens in just 2 weeks to 2 major political conventions. But no matter what happens in November, our first guest will have to work with the president, whoever it is. Let's bring in the third in line to be the leader of the free world, House Speaker Mike Johnson. Speaker, thank you so much for joining us on NewsNation.
Hey,
Now.
Thanks for having me. Great to be in the
Appreciate you
studio.
being here. First, we want to get your reaction to the fallout from this debate. We've watched the sound bites over and over and over. The liberal New York Times even calling their editorial board, calling for him to step aside. How big of a deal is this?
It's a big deal, and we've been traveling around the country for the last several months. It's interesting, the Democrats are in panic today, but the American people have been in panic mode for the entirety of the Biden administration. They've made a mess of every metric of public policy. And I've been in 135 cities in 30 states doing events over the last 6 months. Everywhere we go, people are fed up about the cost of living they can't afford. They can't keep up no matter how hard they work. They're worried about the rising crime rates. They're worried about the open border, of course, the catastrophe that is, and the weakness that we're projecting on the world stage. And part of the reason that debate performance by Joe Biden was so dangerous is because our adversaries see this as well.
Yeah.
That's the reason that China, Russia, Iran, North Korea have formed a new axis of evil. These are serious times.
Well, we will get to how the world is viewing America following that debate in just a moment. But first, this is new today. We have North Carolina Senator Thom Tillis, and he's reportedly calling on Biden's cabinet to invoke the 25th Amendment, which would possibly remove him from office. Do you think this is going too far?
I've been asked a lot about this over the last 2 days. My background's in constitutional law. This is not something that's been invoked before, but desperate times call for desperate measures. I was asked by Hill Press yesterday, if you were in the cabinet, would you be considering that? And I said I would, in good conscience, because I said I think the cabinet members need to search their own hearts. I think everybody recognizes, as I said, it's a dangerous situation, and serious times call for serious measures.
Yes.
I don't know what they'll do, but I know that there's a lot of alarm on the part of the American people.
Can we clarify that just a little bit more? Are you calling for the cabinet to take a look at this? Or are you just saying I would if I was?
Well, it's not my place. This is an Article 2 situation. It's the executive branch. It falls upon the vice president and the members of the cabinet to make that determination if they deem it appropriate. I think if you polled the American people, I think many would say it is an appropriate time. But that's for their branch to determine and to deal with. And
so you're not echoing Thom Tillis?
Well, I say I think it's appropriate. I don't disagree with Thom Tillis, but it's not the place of the Speaker of the House to call for it.
Well, during the debate, of course, Trump was asked about his respect for the democratic process. Would he accept the outcome of the election, even if he loses in November? We'll take a listen to what his response was.
The question was, will you accept the results of the election, regardless of who wins? Yes or no, please.
If it's a fair and legal and good election, absolutely. I would have much rather accepted these, but the fraud and everything else was ridiculous.
So should he respect it regardless? Will you respect it regardless? Answer both of those, please.
Well, sure. Exactly what he said. I think he answered the question 3 or 4 times. Yes, if it's a free and fair election, then of course, this is our system. We have the peaceful transfer of power, which is something that marks the extraordinary distinction of our country. We sort of invented that idea from the first president, George Washington, who stepped down voluntarily after 2 terms.
Do you question the results of the last election?
The last election was an irregular, unprecedented situation because of COVID. We're not relitigating that. No one is. We're looking forward. President Trump is looking forward. He wants to talk about the next 4 years, not what happened 4 years ago. And I think that's where the American people are. They want us to bring solutions to all the great challenges facing the country. And we have them. And that's why we're so bullish about November. I think President Trump is going to win the White House again. I think we're going to grow the House majority for the Republican Party. And the polling is suggesting that we are going to flip the Senate back to Republican control as well. And when we do that, we'll be on track to fix all this.
A big week ahead for former President Trump. On Monday, the Supreme Court is expected to rule one way or the other about immunity. Should he have immunity? Should presidents have immunity?
I think it's an important constitutional principle. When you're the executive authority of the whole country, you can't sit in the Oval Office and be worried about rogue prosecutors or attorneys bringing charges against you. This is an important, I think, a necessity of the job to be able to make those decisions and to make them well without regard for those other things.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.